Chi Creation, The Tree of Life, Part 14. So, we have the comparison between the brain and the universe in that sense. So if we compare it to like the root systems and the heart-brain network, which like exist within nature, so it exists within the forest in that way, like through the roots, but also for like through the ocean. And so when you get all those patterns, when the sunlight's going through the water, then that's like showing you that that's part of it as well. You know, it's got just as much communication, if not more, than well, when I say the forest, but when you're looking at this is all the same. You know what I mean? So it's all interlinked in that way. So you know, like the consciousness of the ocean, like can it think? You know, can the universe think when you compare it to the brain? And so like the consciousness of the whole in that kind of sense. So, illustration. So it looks a little bit different than there. I think maybe to do with being illustration. On space version, I'm assuming that's an illustration. But it's interesting, you know, because you're seeing all these pathways, how it all connects. And then all your lights or stars and such. So like, you know, like the density of a forest network of that tree in that kind of way that we're all part of. You know, it's like you can't see the outside, so you can't tell that it's a tree. In one way of seeing it is like a tree, but also like the brain itself, you know, it's just like tissue matter and all that kind of stuff. Like muscle fibers and, you know, all that kind of thing. So you got another example, and this one, it's got these pockets, a bit like when we looked at the seaweed, and it's got those air bubbles, and so we're comparing those to the realm, and so it's like got these in that same way, and also how it looks like the sun, and so you know the realm being the sun, each one of them. So then you can see those invisible tubes, again like the coral. See how that looks like fiery? So you can see like it's not fiery, it's just the camera effect, how it makes it look like that. So, you know, like the misinterpretation of the Big Bang and stuff. So we've got, can I turn this one? Hold on. Yeah, it looks a bit better that way. So yeah, we're saying they found a vine stretching across the early universe. I'll turn it back up away. 20 giant galaxies stretching across the early universe. So, in terms of can we pick it up, like this invisible pathways and such? It's something to question in terms of like his ability to do so, like, you know, to to connect the two in that kind of way, because it's like we're seeing the imperceivable and the perceivable at the same time. But again, it's showing you that tree-like pattern, branch. So another example of that, how they depict it. It becomes too thick, like it's dark, so you can't see what's beyond. Or it's in way, so you can't see what's behind. You can't see the woods for the trees in that kind of way. So I like to see like the entire picture. That's why I like the coral, and then they're pointing out it's like the tree, but also the heart-brain network. So it's like considering that we're the center of creation, it's more like everything's the center of creation because this is the center of creation, not just one of them. Like they're all part of it. They're all part of that heart-brain network. Like tunnels in that way. So again, like the lightning pattern. So where trees get this from, where plants get it from, and why the water finds it, finds the link when the water makes the patterns in the ocean. More examples of it. In the first episode, we had the cymatic patterns. We had flowed over. One of them looked like a beak, all that kind of stuff. Like, but you can also see like the tunnels. So this is supposed to be space and all that kind of stuff. Like, there are the dots going through it. It almost looks like insect-like as well, like giants and stuff, like skeletal structure or exoskeleton for insects in it, but it's also like giant structure as well for internal skeletons. So you can look at all the stars which are going within or part of that tunnel. It's not really good quality, but it's another example. I think you get these pockets like that, the spaces. So again, you can see like your water cymatics. Everything we've previously mentioned. I mean, that reminds me of giraffes, those kind of pockets as well, and such. For all the patterns to come through. So this one, I wanted to look at the lightning, and so we've got where it all comes from, all of different realms. That's like the collective consciousness, but they appear separated, and then you got all the energy that comes down into each realm, and this is this realm. So then I've got all the light coming round, all the energy coming down, and then it even looks like lightning storms. So you got your flat plane, and then you got your lightning storms above it. Maybe underneath, but I might be able to debunk that argument. But it does look more prominent on top, and it's only a little bit, but you can't really tell for lightning. It looks like clouds there, and there's a bit of stuff coming down or up in whichever way you orientate it. But there, definitely, it's more like it's like the same colour, and so you can see it come through and gets into Sprite, and then comes down, and then it's got this field, like the clouds, all that kind of stuff. I don't know, it must be in an above cloud. Like different domes in that kind of sense and stuff like. Would you even class that as a dome? Or would you class that as a dome? That one as a dome? Maybe. you know, and then it's come through. So like you can see it's like rains through in that way, and then you've got that. It looks like a storm. So when we've got this lightning, unlike that time lapse, so you can see it all. Oops. Like, you know, all together and all that kind of sense. It's like where that imperceivable becomes perceivable. And it also makes you consider, are they already there? You know what I mean? Like the pathways. It's like, is it invisible? And then once the lightning comes through, you can see it then. So like the time lapse, would that repeat? You know? Like so you got this line here. It's gone through that way, but there's these other lines, and it could have chose that more as a more prominent pathway, or there's so many different ways to kind of consider how to see it, and you know, but we'll see more in that kind of sense and stuff. As again, like your cymatic patterns on sky. It's like from there, they look like set positions. So like the sprites are in a set position. I don't mean that the lightning is going to do that. I mean, you know, it could always be random in a sense, but at the same time, I do think more of it with sprites in a way. I don't. Something you could test. You know, what I mean, you could film and just like catch the next storm, and you know, is it gonna repeat in the same place and stuff? And it's gonna do for some aspects because you got buildings, haven't you? But I feel like I'm waffling a bit. You got this other aspect of lightning. In the first episode, we spoke about it coming downwards and it making the tree shape, but you've also got it coming, it's showing, it's playing upwards. Because it could be connected to ley lines, and if that's where the ley line crosses, then that's why it, you know, it chose that point. And so, like when you have a building and you've got like the lightning rod at the top and stuff like, and then it can catch onto it and stuff. Well, you've kind of created a ley line, a cross point in a way. Creating structures alters that ley line pathway and stuff like. So if you were going to build a big building, then that's making a difference and stuff. In fairy culture, we consider it to have its like own chakra. So like even like a town or a city will have the spirit of that city, and so like, you know, the collective spirit of all the buildings and all the people and all that kind of stuff is what makes that place with that energy in that kind of sense. Like the zeitgeist, like the spirit of the times, but the spirit of the city in a sense. Not the documentary zeitgeist. The meaning of spirit of the time. So more tree shapes. it brings that like the heavens back down in a way to like that's seeing that connection we've got with all what is above in that sense. So that relationship between the mind and space, like you got all the stars and all that kind of stuff, and it's like um, the mind and space is not much different, is there? You know what I mean? When you compare it and both, it's like the depths and limitless of your mind, and that of being what the heavens are. And see, there might be a limitation to the dome in that kind of sense, but there's all the other realms within, which are all outside as well, And so it's like, to go to another place outside of this, you'd have to go into one of the other realms and, in that kind of way. And what was that? There's a Shaolin teaching as well. About the mind. And they say they look at it like a jar, a pot jar. And they say that your mind is inside that pot, and it looks empty, in that sense. But if you knock the jar over and then the jar breaks, then you see that what was in the mind is no different from what's outside it. You know what I mean? So it's like in that like internal perspective, that spiritual perspective. Like relating that aspect of what is inward is also external. And so like when we meditate and we go in to go out in that kind of sense, it's the same. So like when we say that your thoughts aren't private, because in the spirit realm that's all heard in that kind of sense. It's like it's kind of like it's all on public display basically. So like the connections between it all in that kind of sense, like the mind is everything in a way. Yeah, like entropy, it only exists with like the physical. So we've got a sprite, and there's a guy called Paul M. Smith. He shares these on Facebook, which are really good pictures. Some of them, or most of them. Like you look at the details and such. So we can see how it comes down, and then it's got all this section. You can see like the segments and like spine. There's loads of details in it. You see like it's like there's barely any light going through it, so you can't see it. When the light coming through it, you can see. And that one, it's like, is it already there? But we only can see it because the light comes through. Like I said, it might be different for lightning, but with the sprites, it might be much more like the architecture's already there, the tree structure's already there. It's just that we can't see it. And so, like, what's imperceivable and what is perceivable. I took quite a few of these pictures. You see lines. Oh, hold on. I want to go through more of these. A little more refreshment. You can see them in that kind of sense. But then we've got stuff like that. And so, like the spine part of it, so it's like the cross section of wood on the petrified wood. And you can see the bits coming out and all that kind of stuff. So it's very lightning and spine-like. So, like this, being the imperceivable and what's already there, you know, because it's like the spine as well, or like plants and all that kind of stuff. It's like your stars within it and all that kind of thing. A little realm, pathway to other realm. So again, so the light catches it, but otherwise you can see through. You wouldn't be able to see it if that light weren't shining. So then you got these, that's your egg-shaped one, your peacock feather, all that kind of thing. I think that meant to be the last one actually. Did it the wrong way around, I think. But when you got these examples, it's kind of like rolling in itself. A bit like an ocean wave. It's more detail and it's not showing it properly. See there. You can see little bits of shadow and all that kind of stuff like. That one's better. For detail anyway, my phone's taking it anyway, but you know, so you can see like it's the same shape as the wave, but it's also like that rolling chi energy of what's creating the world in that kind of sense. But it looks like it's got lightning coming up and all that kind of stuff. And spine-like. I think there was another one in a previous episode which was a really good example. I've tried to find it but I can't. It seemed to disappear. I don't know how. But you see how it looks like bone? There's like loads of detail and stuff. So like nerve endings. There's also bits of pareidolia you can see as well. Like it looks like a face almost, you know, with light shining over the top and stuff, and like its shoulders are, or it looks like another face there, and such. but sometimes pareidolia is just pareidolia. It depends. I mean, it's like the realm's conscious anyway. You can see that in that kind of way and stuff. But I mean, like with nerve endings and everything, so many things in that kind of way. That's the same picture. You see all the branches going up. There's so many details, like the branches and all that kind of thing. You can see like everything within it. I don't know. It's like, what's all this here? Like teeth. You can see that. You see it goes off there as well. You got this light going through. I don't know if it's part of it or like going through it, or it's just another one in front of it. Oh, that's the same one. It's a larger picture. I don't know, it's an airplane or something. It is interesting though, and you know, they're quite good photos as well. It's red, but you can see like the spine going through it. It's going up yellow on my phone, or orange, but like segments and stuff. But I think I've run out of time. So I'll end it here and I'll get on with the next one. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in a bit. Nice one. Cheers.